Good evening, Jeopardy fans, and welcome to Tournament of Panelists 2 here on hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, presented by thejeopardyfan.com. I am Andy Saunders, and I will, as always, be moderating the discussion here. We've got the first four sets, or the first four panelists here in our tournament. So I will introduce them, and then we'll get into the discussion of the various items. Our first panelist, I'm going to go in alphabetical order tonight. So first up, welcome to the Tournament of Panelists, Aria Gerson. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Our second panelist, we've got David Kendall. Welcome.
Both for me.
Third alphabetically tonight, Trevor Mahoney. Glad you were able to join us.
Hello, and thank you.
And last, certainly not least, Fred Vaughn. Welcome.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. So the way the tournament works, we're going to have anyone who still wants to participate. We've still got room. The link at thejeopardyfan.com still has a sign-up link. If you want to take part, just make sure you're a former panelist, a former contestant, or a Patreon supporter of the site. And then you'll have the opportunity to take part. There's a sign-up sheet on the site. So there are a few panel times set up. I'll go with about four or five panelists for every one of these panels. And then what'll happen, once all of the preliminary panels are done, everyone who has been on a panel will enter into a voting phase. You'll get the chance to vote for, it'll depend on how many people we get in the preliminary stage, but up to 1/3 of the total. And then again, the top third will proceed on to a final panel on September the 11th at 9:05. And it'll be lots of fun. I remember the last tournament panelists was quite fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this. So basically the way these preliminary panels work, I've come up with a bunch of questions, different. They're all to do with the show, but different than say what you might have normally here on hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, but we'll still get some good discussion about the show in. So tonight's first question, you'll all get a chance to answer preliminarily, and then if you want to kind of, put some debate forward, then by all means, have at it. So your first question tonight will go Aria, then David. David will answer second, Trevor third, Fred fourth. So here we go. Name one Jeopardy gameplay rule. Not now, by a gameplay rule, I don't mean eligibility rules like people can come back after they've lost. But name one Jeopardy gameplay rule that you would change. Aria, you get first crack. Oh, by the way, you can't repeat anyone's answers. So,
Oh, boy.
Sucks to be Fred.
Well, I at one point watched the show Jep on YouTube, which is like a early 2000s like kids version of Jeopardy before Kids Week was a thing. And on Jep, if you got, I think, 2 wrong answers, you had to like get stuff dumped on your head. And I think that would be really funny to have on Jeopardy. Like if you got 2 wrong answers, you just get stuff dumped on your head. And I think that would just be pretty fun. And obviously like harmless stuff like foam peanuts and like maybe balls or bean bags, something like that. I think that would be kind of fun. Make Jeopardy fun again, I guess.
Hashtag.
David, how about you?
Okay, well, Aria stole my answer that I didn't even know I had until she said it. So, thank you, Aria. I'm thinking back to the old Win Ben Stein's Money show where they give you a dunce cap if you answer in the form of a question. So I think they should give you a dunce cap if you don't answer in the form of a question.
Ooh.
But would they still accept your answer, or would they just give you the dunce cap?
Oh, what do they do in Ben Stein? I think they make him say it again.
Okay. Trevor?
I would like to see something. It was funny, I was thinking about this question earlier today, even though I didn't know it was coming up. But I would love to see something where there was a double whammy type thing, where if you chose a clue, instead of actually having the daily double option, you would actually lose money just because you selected that clue. I think if we, again, given that we already know that the element of luck is happening anyway, why not put in an extra element of awfulness? True Jeopardy right there. You would lose not the dollar amount on there, but 5 times the dollar amount. Maybe 10. Maybe it's an arbitrary thing if you choose 2 in a row. I don't know. Then you could do the whole add-on to Aria's answer and, you know, hide them somewhere in a corner or something where they're out for 3 rounds. I mean, obviously, I could go on a while, but double whammy, essentially, is what I would do.
And thank you, Trevor, for taking most of my sorry. Oh no, I think I'm thinking. See, I'm thinking just steal straight from Millionaire and or you know from Network Millionaire, and go fastest finger on the very first clue in both the Jeopardy and Double Jeopardy rounds. So that. Of course, it's kind of annoying. That's kind of weird because, of course, it's kind of fastest anyway. That's all I can think of.
Well, someone's phoning a friend right now in the back.
Well, I was about to say...
it's not my phone.
I was about to say, when you were going with Millionaire, I thought your answer was going to be, on a Daily Double, you're allowed to ask a friend, ask the audience once.
Oh.
Better. It's way better.
But how often will that actually work? Well, Jeopardy audiences, I guess, are pretty smart.
Well, you know, I would venture that a Jeopardy audience is probably smarter than a Millionaire audience, considering you do have 10 other, you know, especially on a Monday, you've got 10 contestants sitting there in the bullpen. And, you know, often you'll get some various alumni from the LA area who'll come in and, you know, sit there, just make sure. Okay, well, let's see who's.
But then again, like if you're like Arthur Chu or like somebody like that, Ken Jennings, like they might just vote against you to get you off the show because they know you have to play against you later.
Ooh.
And
go ahead, Fred.
No, I was gonna say, considering that Millionaire now does Vegas, there's also the Jeopardy has the distinct advantage of not having to go past casinos and be really, really distracted beforehand.
And not like getting the smoke all up in your head, like the smell and the.
I was thinking for some people, the alcohol.
Or they've lost a lot of money and want to win more money, but they figure Jeopardy's the safer way. If that was in Vegas.
Well, I mean, Jeopardy has been in Vegas. They taped it to UFC there once.
Yeah.
Really?
The one that was
Yes,
at CES.
The CES, yeah.
Yeah. The biggest problem with taping in Vegas at CES was actually they had to actually wait until CES was completely done for the day before they could start taping.
Ooh.
So it was a really night.
So they were in the convention center.
Yeah.
Sounds like okay. Yeah, because that's taken up almost completely, along with a bunch of hotels close by usually during CES.
Yeah. I know that also they did an international tournament in Vegas back in 2001, which I think was slightly more traditional, quote unquote, for a Vegas show. But okay, so yeah, go ahead, Trevor. Sorry.
I was going to say, speaking of the international, I remember seeing on I think it was someone had posted a Vimeo of an international final. I think it was in Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is another slight change of the rule. Instead of using the clicker that they had there, they were doing they had these buttons that were going.
Yeah.
And you could hear it loud. And so now I was the first thing, of course, I'm thinking is people would understand the signaling device a lot better if they watch this version. And second, they would still be annoyed. But that might be another rule change where you could instead use some other device other than a signaling device.
Yeah, actually, they taped that international tournament on the Swedish set of Jeopardy, so that's why they had those specific signaling devices.
Those were like kind of like the plungers that they have on Family Feud, those kind of things.
Yeah, almost.
Okay.
Oh, those would be so awkward.
A comment from Ken Hirsch in the Peanut Gallery, of course, referring to Vegas. Since what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, the contestants have to doubly zip their lips until the show airs.
Good luck.
How's that different?
Right?
Good point.
You have no idea how many people try to get it out of me. So.
No, I almost got wrecked in my own home.
Oh.
So,
Oh, ew.
somebody who was I just kept threatening, saying, "Don't do that. Don't do that."
Yeah. It was only about 20 people asked me where my Porsche was parked after the game.
Mhm.
After I had taped, I was like, I don't know. There's the CEOs. Maybe they'll be mine soon. I don't know.
Right.
So we're going to move on to our second question. David will open with the first one here, then Trevor, Fred, and Aria. So here's a chance to, if you would like, so if you so desire, get a chance to hate on the writers a little bit. So if you could pick one category that the writers would never be allowed to use again on the show, what would that category be?
Oh, easy one, though. I don't know what the rest of you three are picking, but I'm picking stupid answers.
Ooh, stupid answers out of David. Trevor.
Yeah, I'm partial to the stupid answers, though. It's making sure at least you're awake. There are a few, though, that I think get a little confusing on the wordplay, though. I'll kind of go along with that. And the idea of heteronyms. Now, I get it. It's the vocabulary type. You're trying to get more of the... There are definitely categories for the audience that they'll like that are more wordplay type. But that definition of it, I think, is kind of confusing, though. And it makes you think a little extra on that part that it takes a little more time, I think. If we're allowed, I'll give an alternate answer during debate.
Fred?
And I'm only saying this because I'm awful with dates, and got reminded of it watching today's show, with in which one of the very first categories was the ancient dates category, and I just okay, yes, some of these are ridiculously obvious, but others I know that there were more than a few, the majority probably, that I would have fallen flat on my face. That's the one that comes closest.
And Aria.
I would go with British art and artists because I distinctly remember this time I was watching Jeopardy a couple months before I was supposed to tape, and there was this category called British art and artists, and they all just stood there, all 5 clues, like they just stood there and didn't even attempt to buzz in, and it was just really awkward because they were just standing there, and I was just standing there like, what is this? And it was just not fun for anyone involved, so I would get rid of that.
I'm surprised that they'd have enough British art and artists to actually fill a category of that.
There was one about, I think, in December of this past
So
season.
that's British food, Andy.
Well, I can think of plenty of British food. It's the art I'm worried about.
It depends on the British food.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the Queen's English would be a one that's like, I would love to see go. The other one more, it's a history one. Whenever they do the soap opera stars, they ham up a scene. It take forever to get through that.
Oh, yeah. Can I change my answer? Oh, yeah. Yo, you definitely got a point there.
Okay, and that's a touchy one, partially because I grew up in a home full of black women who loved The Young and the Restless, so, and that which is the show that they most frequently seem to use. So I'm kind of like, I'm still kind of in for now. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if my mom is watching, sorry. I think she was a young.
Yeah, my mom loved soap operas too, but I mean, she watched soap operas, but they're not on Jeopardy, you know?
Right.
The soap opera then is Jeopardy. Don't get chocolate and peanut butter.
I think there's been more than once that I got soap opera questions right on trivia and stuff, just by like randomly guessing a soap opera. And so I guess I have really good luck with soap operas. So maybe I'd try my luck again, like just randomly guess a soap opera and hope it works out. By the end of the category, you can kind of narrow it down a little bit to which ones haven't been picked yet.
Right.
Yep, there are only a few. No, just a reminder: if you are watching and want to throw in your suggestions on any of these questions, of course, we do have hashtag Jeopardy Live panel on Twitter, and I am looking at that tonight. And there's also the YouTube chat. As I mentioned, Ken Hirsch with his comments on Vegas earlier, that came from the YouTube chat. So if you're watching and want to chime in with something, by all means, you're welcome to do so. Now, number 3 here. Trevor will go first, then Fred, Aria, and David. And one thing that I liked to do on the first tournament of panelists is the photo caption. So I have found a random photograph on the internet, and you'll have to come up
right
with
into the wolves right away. All right,
a Jeopardy related caption for this photograph. So you can click on mine if you need to see it. If you're listening to the audio simulcast, which comes up on iTunes later, you have a table containing a single solitary cup of coffee, and the coffee is black.
okay.
So, Trevor, you get to go first, and then Fred, Aria, and David.
Actually, might have one already. Can it be partially auditory? Do you want just a caption, no sounds, other sounds with it?
Auditory is fine.
All right. Man, if I had that other cup of coffee, maybe I would actually get in there first. I just happen to have the pen here. It worked great. So, thank you, Swag.
Fred, your turn.
Wow, those 3 or 4 cups were cool, but it's a Friday show.
Okay, so Aria, your turn.
That feel when the contestants save your favorite category for last, and it just stands there, unpicked, just waiting to show itself.
And David.
Maggie's secret weapon.
Ooh.
True.
Very true. Well, to be honest with you, I suspect Maggie's secret weapon might have a shot of Bailey's in there, to be honest with you.
Probably.
Probably plenty of shots of a lot of different things in there. So.
Oh, yeah. That I think her liquor cabinet and mine have a bit in common.
They always talk about these tournament of champions parties anyway. I mean, it's got to be probably coming from her stash specifically. It has to be.
Trevor, with Fred on the panel tonight, I'm worried that your comment there might have hit a little bit too close to home.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I swear. No, but partially because there's a bottle of something that I had been waiting to open from the time, basically the weekend after I lost. I decided I wasn't going to do anything until I knew what was up with the Tournament of Champions. So it's a lovely bottle of apple brandy from a local farmer, and it's half gone.
So from our from Ken Hirsch in our peanut gallery, we've got I'll take impotent potables for 600.
That's a good one.
Oh,
there you go.
Potables, another category I would love to never see again. Because, yeah, don't drink.
Well, it reminds me of that that passage from Brainiac where Ken Jennings was talking about because he's a Mormon, he doesn't drink, so he made up all these flashcards about alcohol and presidents.
Oh, the Harvey
I feel like-
Wallbanger.
Like every time I get an alcohol question, even if it's by accident because they just guess something random, I'm like, yeah, woo! and everyone's looking at me like, are you actually drunk?
Aria, you just described half my correct answers on Jeopardy. just that feeling, and because I'm like trying to be all like proper on camera, but I'm like, whoa, baby.
So, moving on to our fourth question. Fred, you get to open with this one. Hopefully, you've had a chance to actually see any of the J Effect stories that Jeopardy posted to its website this year. So, were there any of this season's J Effect stories that caught your eye, and which was your favorite one?
There were a bunch. I think the very first one I saw was the woman who I think she'd come from Germany as a young child and learned English with the help of Jeopardy. And that kind of took me to a very good place. But it's like, okay, at least my first language was sort of English, and this show kept me sane and kind of kept me wanting to, become a college graduate and other things.
Nice. Aria, your turn.
One that I really liked was from Dana Venator, who is a former teen tournament contestant.
Okay.
And obviously I could really relate to that when she talked about how kind of how the show impacted her a lot later, more than rather like an immediate effect when people find out she was on the show. And it's like, oh, cool. Like you were on this. Because just like a week ago, I was working at this summer camp at a college campus, and I was wearing my Jeopardy sweatshirt. And this guy who was working in the dining hall was like, is that a Jeopardy sweatshirt? I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, that's awesome. And so I can really relate to that. And I think it's really cool also that she managed to be able to pay for eye surgery. She said that with her Jeopardy money, because that's a really cool story, really nice thing that she managed to be able to do.
Okay, David.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've seen all the JFX stories, and I know that every time there's a new one that comes up, I always go right there and watch it. I love those JFX stories because I'm always interested in the behind the scenes. Like I'm not just a passive watcher of the show. I just like to learn a lot about the show. It's one of my favorite shows. That's how I got to be in the Jeopardy community in the first place. Just want to find out more about the behind the scenes and what happens outside of those 22 minutes. So there isn't really one that stands out in my mind because I just like them all. That is what I really like about Jeopardy, and I really like that they have the JFX stories from the not only from the contestants but also from audience members that Jeopardy has affected. I was just pleased that they have the JFX stories at all. So I cannot pick a favorite. Just anytime there's a new one, I'm on it watching it.
Now, unless your answer was also all, Trevor, I'm going to say that you're not in danger of repeating what David just said. But
yeah, there were two actually I had that I could think of. One that I remember a few more of the details was how Frank Spangenberg had used the extra winnings at that time. The rule was he could only win $75,000, and he had won, I think it was $102,000 in his 5 games. So he used the extra $27,000 donated to a local nursing home, and that was in the 1980s. So we're talking that's a decent amount of money that they're able to use to kind of spruce up a lot of the nursing home. The other one I'm going to be a little less scarce on the details, but if I remember correctly, it was one that came up later in the season where he was a performing artist of some type, and he was homeless. And what he did, though, to keep his mind sharp was actually go to the front, I believe it was the front of like a store there were TVs. Every day they would be playing Jeopardy at this storefront. And he would watch episodes of Jeopardy to keep his mind fresh, to keep his mind going. And it kind of helped him kick off a lot of his career. He was able to expand a lot more. I think they even then showed him where he's now going to be a father here coming up, or may already be at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of, I looked a little more into his story after that. I wish I remembered his name. Obviously, probably doesn't help for the answer, but a lot of neat work he's done, though, from that. So it was neat to see how really these multiple years of work of going through, making sure that he's still mentally acute, helped him a lot in really starting a very creative type of career.
I certainly, honestly, I have to agree with all of you guys. Though you pretty much picked off all of my favorites for the most part. So.
Okay.
So we'll see how this next one goes. One has a bit of a sports bent to it, but we'll see how it plays. Aria will go first, then David, then Trevor, and then Fred. Which current professional athlete do you think would be most likely to win a game of regular Jeopardy, not celebrity, regular Jeopardy? And who would you most like to see try?
Boy.
This is a tough one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I note how I said professional athlete and not celebrity, because I think everyone's answer would probably be Andy Richter.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, Aria.
Well, so the obvious answer here would be Aaron Rodgers, just because of the whole how he did on Celebrity Jeopardy. But I think the answer I would actually go with is Katie Ledecky, because I think swimmers don't get enough credit for how smart they are as athletes. And I guess maybe she's technically not a professional athlete, but she went to the Olympics, so I think that counts. And she went to Stanford for college, so that means she's pretty smart. Has to be pretty smart to go to Stanford. And I think that she would do really well. So I think she's got that poise, that under pressure, competitiveness, used to competing, all that stuff. So,
David, your turn.
Oh, my turn. Yes. Well, since I don't know that much about sports, my answer is going to look a lot like Aria's, but I did flesh it out beforehand. So, because when I was watching the Celebrity Jeopardy, I too was rooting for Aaron Rodgers, because I was reading recently before that episode aired, anyways, about how smart as a general rule quarterbacks are, that they take the Wonderlic test and they have to do really well on the Wonderlic test in order to be a quarterback. So right away I knew, Aaron Rodgers is going to do well on the show because he's a quarterback, so he must be smart. And yeah, going back to what Aria was saying about breaking the stereotype, because a lot of people think, oh, these dumb jocks of football, and that's, I guess, why I was attracted to this article saying about how smart quarterbacks are. Since Aaron Rodgers has already been on the show, and I don't know that many quarterbacks overall, I'm going to say Brett Favre, because he's the first quarterback that comes to mind.
Well, the two people from Wisconsin like your answer too. So
go Pack, go. But I think I get to answer next, and I will say Brett Favre would be a no. Just saying. Does Tiger Woods actually still make money? I don't know. He was a Stanford guy, I know that, but he's not. Don't see him around on the circuit anymore. But why not Jeremy Lin? Why not Ryan Fitzpatrick? They both went to Harvard. I would probably lean a little more towards Fitzpatrick, just knowing that his Wonderlicks, he is a quarterback with. Wait, hold on. That might be a blank now. He might not actually be playing anymore. with anyone by free agent.
I don't think Fred Vaughn is playing anymore.
No, he's been retired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's
kind
not
of
talk
thought
about
so.
that is, you want to talk a soap opera, why I don't like them? Retirement number one. That's why I don't like soap operas. But anyway, touchy subject. Not going there. Anyway, I would go with Fitzpatrick. But I think you had a second part where you ask anyone who you'd like to see try, or is it supposed to be the same person?
No, it can be different.
Because I would mostly for entertainment, but I would love to see what Rob Gronkowski would do. I don't think you would answer anything correct. But I think we may or may need a new signaling device after that. And while he's borrowing, someone else's, we may need two. So
I think just from an aesthetic standpoint, it would be really funny to take like some of the most physically freakish athletes in like both directions. So, like put Aaron Judge and like Simone Biles in the same episode, and it would just be really funny because I don't think there's any way to make those two look like they're the same height because Simone's like 4'7".
Have you
Aaron
seen
Judge
Kareem
is, like,
Abdul-Jabbar?
6.
Yeah, I was just gonna say any
Camera
episode with
moves,
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in it.
But oh man,
So it's
I had
your turn, Fred. Yeah.
I had a really long list. No, I mean I really did. And by the way, Trevor, I live in Wisconsin, but I'm originally from New York, and I'm that problem called a Jets fan. So you touch nerves.
Well,
we had our
you
draft.
touched nerves
We said
a couple
no one take
ways.
the Jet.
I mean, they're
You touched-
probably not going to go 0-16 this year.
They shouldn't.
No,
They shouldn't.
but it really is kind of a long list. Like just the names that came to mind. Richard Sherman of the Seattle Seahawks came to mind. Like Stanford again.
Stanford, yeah.
My husband, which probably throttled me if I didn't mention I'm guessing New York Knick by the name of Nigel Hayes. And Trevor, you know of whom I speak.
You know it. Hayes would be fun. He'd be
my God.
actually like to see him on some kind of like vocabulary thing. Just again.
Hello. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just we've just been impressed by just how he handles himself, and he could rock Jeopardy if he wanted to.
Yeah, and he grew as a person a lot at UW.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm biased because I'm gonna, good answer, right? So, Bronson Koenig. Then, if we wanted to go in that realm,
Work.
and
Okay. Agreed. Cosign.
Yep.
So from Ken Hirsch in the Peanut Gallery, he throws out Serena Williams,
Yeah, I bet she.
saying he thinks great tennis players know geometry and physics.
Not a ton of
Well,
geometry
certainly
questions on Jeopardy, though. But I
No.
don't disagree that Serena Williams would be a pretty good choice.
Beyond some basics, but yeah, she's not a slouch. I don't think.
That's why she's top of the field.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quick reflexes at least. So I think you
Yes.
could at least get in
Oh
again.
yeah, that
Think
too.
through things quickly.
And I think any sport where you have really long all-day meets, like swimming or track, where you're not going to be competing and everything, I think that people who do those kind of sports sometimes are really good at stuff like trivia, because you can just look up trivia like at your meet if there's nothing going on and you're in between events and stuff. I've heard of people doing that, so I just think anybody in those sports is pretty good.
Okay.
And the
Well, we're getting
marathon,
beaten
that's
by
all
the
they
peanut gallery here. They're giving all the good answers.
So, moving on to question number 6 of 7 tonight. So, David, you'll get the first crack to answer this one. Then
Oh, look at me.
Trevor, Fred, and Aria. Often debate with regards to the show focuses on who Alex Trebek's replacement will be when he retires. But that's not what this question is about.
Oh shoot.
I need a great turn.
Okay.
So, obviously, Johnny Gilbert is getting up in years, and I'm sure he won't last forever. So, I'd like each of you to nominate a replacement for Johnny Gilbert.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't really make good announcers anymore, do they? Either. Okay, well, Gilbert Gottfried is out.
I look like him, according to Twitter. So
Oh,
no, literally, somebody tweeted Aria looks like Gilbert Gottfried. I just spent 5 minutes like cracking up on my pillow. I was like, what's this? It's the weirdest insult ever.
okay then.
The first guy that comes to mind, I can't even remember his name. So I'm hoping some of you know who I'm talking about here. There's a story a few years ago about a homeless guy. I think he was out in your neck of the woods there, Fred. And it turned out he had a really, really good announcing voice, and he got a couple of great announcing gigs. And I heard some of his stuff, and he really had a good voice. So
I don't remember.
Comes to mind. I don't remember
his name. I remember his name. His name actually shares his name with the famous baseball Hall of Famer Ted Williams.
That's it. Ted Williams. You got to have a really good voice, and his is one of the best voices that I've heard. So I'll go with Ted Williams, the announcer, not the baseball player.
Okay. Apparently, he is still doing some radio in Columbus, Ohio. Actually.
Oh, Columbus, Ohio. Okay, I thought it was up in the other way.
Columbus.
It's Big Ten. Oh, that's right. You're a Michigan fan, aren't you?
Yes.
That's all right. I think you're in company here. We don't care about Ohio either. Sorry if you're from there.
I'm curious to see what the Cincinnati native in our peanut gallery is thinking of that discussion.
And I won't.
I did not insult Ohio. I insulted Columbus, just so you know.
And we mention too? I do want to say if he is so there's a soccer team. They had the Louisville City FC Cincinnati game this weekend, and Louisville won by a grand score of 5-0. Oh. So best cheer of the night. We were talking about this before the panel. All the fans in Louisville were chanting, "Go back to Ohio, go back to Ohio." So now every time we play Ohio State, I think I'm going to be using that if I'm ever at a game. So you got one. There you go, Aria. You've got one to use.
Trevor.
I think I'm next anyway. Actually, so I had two I had in mind, but I'm going to go with the one I think would be pretty neat. While we're talking the Midwest, a recently retired Garrison Keeler, nice prairie home companion, talking about Lake Wobegon, bringing out, the nice down home feeling that I think our over 65 audience would love to hear the voice from. And obviously a very smart guy too, with a great voice. So there you go.
Well, okay. I'm actually gonna keep it on public radio. Not the wait person you think. I would actually want Peter Sagal himself.
Ooh.
Because he has the energy, he has the hype level.
Could I still win Carl Castle's voice on my answering machine though?
I think yes. Is it added bonus?
Prize, you mean?
Nice. No, but I seriously think you need an energy level, kind of like what Johnny gives, and he comes the closest in public radio.
Okay, so Aria,
I have a serious answer and a troll answer, so I'm gonna go with my troll answer first. I think it would be funny if Joe Buck did it, because then everyone would just go on Twitter and they would complain so much about how Joe Buck is announcing Jeopardy that they wouldn't spend as much time writing mean things about the contestants because they'd be so mad that Joe Buck is involved with the show.
You would lose every Packers fan, though. You would just lost the entire state of Wisconsin.
You'd lose everybody. You'd lose everybody for different reasons.
Yeah.
Though it'll give a new meaning to "We'll see you tomorrow night." That's for sure.
So that was my troll answer. But My serious answer is, I mean, I know he retired, but like probably Vin Scully because he's a legend and he knows so much stuff about like all the baseball players that he was announcing about. So I think he'd bring a pretty cool vibe to any Jeopardy show, any announcing. You know, he's got that nice voice that everyone's kind of that classic throwback, like what Trevor was talking about. So I think everybody loves him. I mean, I know people who are not Dodgers fans who would watch Dodgers broadcasts to watch or to listen to Vin Scully. So everyone would love him, which is basically the opposite of what Joe Buck would be. But
yeah, you pretty much give an answer that everyone would love and everyone would hate.
Well, that's why I gave 2 answers.
So some further suggestions from Ken. John Hamm, he does great voiceovers on the Mercedes commercials.
Okay.
More humorously, Rob Paulson using his pinky voice.
Oh,
yeah.
and now you at the host of Jeopardy. No.
He also had some comments regarding Ohio, namely Columbus is a nice place to visit. And I think more in regards to Wait, Don't Tell Me, who has answering machines. And I also think, you know,
we do actually.
Well, yeah, I think there's a...
He's updated it to say your device, your
Yep.
you know, your answer.
Your voicemail, yep.
Right.
I thought someone might actually go for Bill as opposed to, you know, Peter Sagal.
He was so close. He was close. He was
Yeah.
really close.
But that was also because I was listening to last week's Wait, Don't Tell Me about as I was putting these questions together. So
Yeah.
I won't say anything. I won't spoil anything. But
I've got to listen to it again because I didn't know until it hit my podcast that Jerry Rice was the Not My Job guest.
yes, oh yes.
So I've got to hear that.
You know, is it a spoiler alert to say what they actually have him answer questions on?
Yes, it would be.
Okay,
Yes.
then I won't say anything.
Wait, don't tell him.
No.
Then I will not say anything then. But, I quite enjoyed it. So, it's now time for us all to summarize tonight's panel in a tweet of 140 characters or fewer. Trevor, you get to go first. Sorry for throwing you into the deep end. Fred goes second, and then the two returnees, third and fourth. Aria, followed by David.
Oh, and I might have to write it down just to make sure I've got the characters out there. No, never mind. I don't need it. Yeah, I've got it now. Only because we're playing off the Ohio thing again. River Dirty here in Louisville must have been from Cincy.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah. Fred.
Match game with bourbon and cheese.
Ooh. But I didn't drink any of it tonight. I failed.
You live in Kentucky. You live in Kentucky. That's enough.
I like I said, I went with Liney's tonight. I wanted to go back a little different. So.
Okay, Aria.
If I don't win this live panel, I get peanuts dumped on my head. If I win, I get Carl Castle's voice. The choice is clear. Hashtag JLP effect.
And David.
Watch Jeopardy now before Joe Buck starts announcing.
You're welcome.
At least he'd just be announcing. My mind went somewhere else, and that's like, oh, I'd never watch it.
Buck hosting. Oh heavens!
No, Troy will be host, and Joe Buck will announce. How does that sound?
Well, at the end of the
not much better.
Every time there's a new winner, would he just say the blank win the pennant?
Is this Pasadena?
So, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on hashtag Jeopardy Live panel tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Not a problem.
What if Joe Buck started announcing Jeopardy Live panel?
Oh, we're not kicking you out, Andy. Let's just
No. Well,
Sorry.
Andy will get on the show one of these days. We need to find a replacement host for that episode.
True.
We'll bring in. We got a lot of options. We'll find some contacts. Maybe Maggie knows someone.
Oh, it's already a very long list, I imagine.
Well, yeah, as I said, thank you. So the once all of the preliminary panels are done, then we will do the large vote to determine who the winners are, who will come back for the final panel. So for everyone here at hashtag Jeopardy Live panel and the JeopardyFan.com, thank you very much for listening. And also for taking part. If you still like to take part in the tournament of panelists, there is still time. Just make sure you sign. There's a Google form attached to this video on the JeopardyFan.com. So make sure you fill that form out, sign up, and then I will make sure that you get on a panel. So thank you very much to everyone, and have a great night.
See you.